What is up, YouTube? Dark God back again. Night one in the books. 7 films in, plus 3 from the night before on the pre-show. We started at dusk on September 30th. So total between the 2 nights, or the night and half a night, 10 films in, which is a good start. On my pace, like I said, I'm going to get 100 this year, like I do every year. I'm trying to shoot for 200, which is rough. I mean, a lot of people do it in the challenges. I'm usually not one of them. I usually top out. I think the most I ever topped out was 166, and that was when I was off with a surgery. So I had the whole month off. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. I'm going to try. I'm going to push. We'll see what happens. Anyway, first film I started with on September 30th. The first film I kicked off with was a 1986 film called The Wind. And the reason I picked it was it has a couple of check marks for the checklist. What is her name? Meg Foster is in it, and Wings Hauser, both check marks on the list. So that was something that it would knock them off. Plus, I get an 80s film off. I would get a European film off because it took place and was filmed in Greece. Interesting film. Kind of Wings Hauser just playing this like homicidal handyman, and he knocks it out of the park. He's awesome at it. It's like kind of like Ramrod from Vice. What is it? Vice Squad. All over again, but just like kind of like amplified, where he's actually just killing people nonstop and everything. And Meg Foster's she's really good in it. She's got those crazy eyes, and this is kind of like she's not like her heyday, because she really never hit it big, but this is kind of like when she was probably her most popular, I would say. Decent slasher, and it's not really a slasher. I mean, you know who the killer is, going into it and everything. But it's not a bad movie. I'd give it a 5 out of 10. Low body count. He only got about 4 kills in the whole film. Stephen Railsbeck's in it as a sailor who gets left in Greece, so he kind of goes to check on Meg Foster's character. And it's not a horrible movie. It was a cool watch. Like I said, I needed it for the check marks, but it wasn't a bad way to kick it off. A film I'd never seen before. I don't think a lot of people have seen it because it has no popularity. Like even on IMDb, it doesn't have a lot of votes and everything. Second film, and so far this is, in my opinion, my favorite film so far, which is short, but out of the 10 films I watched, this is my favorite film. First time watch, Attack the Block, from 2011, starring Jodie Whittaker and John Boyega. Just awesome film. Like aliens come down and attack this apartment complex in London, and just this whole like group of citizens kind of like basically banding together to defeat it, and it's just crazy how everything's intertwined. And the relationships these people have, where in the beginning John Boyega and his friends actually mug or rob Jodie Whittaker's character, but by the end, they're all together and everything fighting the aliens. Crazy gore in it, actually, and it looks like it's all practical. It doesn't look like it's too much CGI. And you get a lot of kills of characters you wouldn't expect kills from, which is something like, horror tends to shy away from like killing like kids and stuff. And this movie, no, they go right for it, and they just... They go right for it. I mean, that's all I could say is like they don't care. It's well done and everything. It makes the people that it makes you kind of feel for the character, because you're like you'll see some horror movies and this character is not going to die. There's no way they're going to kill this character off. And when that becomes a possibility, you kind of care for the character more, and you don't want them to be killed off and everything. Anyway, I go 7 out of 10 on it. I loved it. Really good movie. Something I'm probably going to pick up and put in the collection after this, because just the way it was done, it was really good. Third film on the pre-night was Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And this was a movie I really wanted to, when it came out, I really wanted to see it, because I grew up on Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It was like the 3 books. I just remember always getting them from the school library. Me and my friends would always try to top one each other reading the stories if we had sleepovers and stuff. And I just remember getting real bad press about it, that it just wasn't good. It was trying to rely too much on the nostalgia of the title and not doing a good enough job of being a good horror movie. And I kind of see where they're going with it. Like I don't think it was like amazing or anything. I don't think it was even that good. There's a couple scenes in it though that I think worked. One of them is like the whole scene with the red room and everything. That was very well done, and it was kind of eerie how it was done, and the effects were cool. But they do some of the things like I don't like. Like there's a lot of CGI in it. My biggest pet peeve about all the film is, especially, I don't know why they do this one with CGI, when they'll CGI blood or like ectoplasm or you know, like just any like bodily fluid, and it hits the camera, and it's like, it's one thing when it happens in a practical effect, because you know that's a mistake and it's on the camera that they have to deal with it. But when they add it as an effect, it's just stupid, because you're like saying like, hey, the camera's there, we're watching a movie, you know. And it just, for me, that kind of takes me out of the whole element of watching a movie. Anyway, I go 5 out of 10 as well. Not bad, you know, it was cool to watch, something I wanted to see. So getting into the films from today, October 1st. First movie I watched was, and crazy story about this, I didn't even know this film existed. I thought this franchise was 2 films. I didn't know there was a 3rd film. And I saw it on cable one day, and we recorded it, and we saved it for the horror challenge to watch. And like I said, I just had no idea this film was part of the franchise. But I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer from 2006. And then like reading up on it, it was supposed to be done in 2000. It was supposed to be a continuation straight from the second film. You know, it was Jennifer Love Hewitt and Ryan Phillippe and Freddie Prinze Jr. Or not Ryan Phillippe, Freddie Prinze Jr. and Brandy were all supposed to be attached to it. And, you know, obviously went into developmental hell, never was made. And you could tell this like was not what they wanted to have, because it's just such a drop off. It looks like a made for TV movie. It looks like almost like a college type movie, like somebody did for a thesis, and or a fanfic of a I Know What You Did Last Summer film. And it kind of borderlines on too much on the original, and then has this twist in out of left field that just, it's like, why would you even go there? Like there's no basis of what you're getting at to go for. Like basically, you know, I'm spoiler, because you're probably never going to see it, or if you do hear the spoiler, you're probably not going to care, and maybe I'll save you an hour and a half of your life. But the fisherman, the killer fisherman, isn't a human, it's a demon actually. And it's just like, it's bonkers, and just like, why would you go there? Like that had nothing to, there was nothing ever about that in any of the films. No like way that was going there. I actually wrote down a score of 3 out of 10, but just thinking about that stupid ass twist, I'm going 2 out of 10. I'm dropping it a whole nother point. It was just bad. I hope this is the worst watch of the month, because if there's anything worse than this, it's gonna be brutal. After that, my first rewatch, with the film I love, Creature from the Black Lagoon. It just, everything about it just works. It's like, it's kind of like always overshadowed with, when it comes to Universal, you know, movies. Obviously you have Dracula, Wolfman, and Frankenstein. Those always get the top billing. And you know, this one's 20 years after that, or 15 years after that, and it's done just as good, if not better, than all those films. Like just the advancements they had and the effects that they had. And Bud Westmore, like the whole Westmore family, Bud Westmore is just like king when it comes to practical effects of like the 50s and everything. And he knocks it out. Like that design of the creature is just something that's like pop culture, and you know how much of that is like gone into like different genres and stuff. Like every time you hear Fishman or underwater creatures, they always have that resemblance to the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and that's going back to Bud Westmore. And that's just like, you know, horror being part of pop culture and not getting the due that it deserves. 7 out of 10 though. I love Creature from the Black Lagoon. Next film was another Universal film. Third one, I believe it is, of that character's storyline, but that's Son of Dracula, starring Lon Chaney Jr. And it's cool seeing Lon Chaney play the Dracula character. You know, it's just something different, because you're always so used to him playing the Wolfman, or you know, he never, like, getting his shot at Dracula is just something cool, because Lon Chaney Jr. is just such a good actor, and another guy just doesn't get the due he deserves, because you know, obviously you have Bella and Boris are like kings of Universal, and then you know, you have Lon Chaney Senior's there, and it's just, you know, Lon Chaney Jr. always kind of gets like stepped over for the other ones, and he should be right there with Bella and Boris Karloff, because he did it for as much as them, and he did, I think, longer than them, and he has as many characters as they had, and he did it as good as them. So I don't think it's as good of a film as obviously as Dracula, or even the Spanish version. It's definitely a step down, but it's still decent watch and everything. It's you know, for a little more modern, for like the 40s, late 40s and everything. But I'd probably go like 5.5 out of 10. It's not one of the best Universals by far. It's in middle of the pack, even probably to the lower half and everything. The movie after that was actually the movie from the night before, since it was the crossover with a different challenge. It was a Criterion night. I didn't watch the movie that night though. I didn't get a chance. But the criterions are kind of like, you don't have to do them on the day. It's optional basically. But I watched the movie Haxon, which was the movie of the night basically to cover that, which is a 1922's documentary slash, I guess like, I don't know, a storyline of witches throughout times and everything, and they kind of go back and forth between a fictional story and the documentary story, and it's just like I'm hit or miss when it comes to silent films. I'll Buster Keaton, I'll watch, uh, obviously Charlie Chaplin, I'll watch everything. Harold Lloyd, I'll watch, but it's like I don't know, like sometimes I like if I'm not into a silent film, like I kind of just lose interest so fast. And there's parts where I was really into this, and there's parts where I kind of got like out of it. But I still like the craziness of this is 1922, and the storyline is just so like it could be yanked out today and put in a movie, and it still works. And it's that's just something to me that like that's timeless. Like if you could do that with a movie almost 198 years old, and it still could be done today and still be scary, that works. So for that and for the merits of what it is and just like how good it was made even 100 years ago, I go 7 out of 10 with that. It's up there with like for horror, just like it's like a cornerstone. It's like the foundation that horror is basically built on. After that was the movie of the day for today, because the theme was werewolves and basically creatures, people being locked up that are changing and everything. And with that, the movie of the day was The Beast and the Magical Sword, which is Paul Naschy. I brutalize his name every time I say it. One of his werewolf movies. I believe there's 14 in total, and some of them are lost, like gone, never see them again. And this was one of the later ones. It's from 1983, and it's crazy because like they try to throw like so much 80s stuff into it, and it works like in a sense. Like they go to Japan, so you get ninjas in there, and you get samurai. You get Paul Naschy wearing the samurai outfit at one point, and it's cool. I mean, you get a lot of like feudal Japan stuff. It's supposed to be taking place, I believe, in the 16th century in Japan. And you get a lot of that, and it's cool. And you get the werewolf. Paul Naschy, I think, is the only person that's comparable to him is Lon Chaney Jr. I think, in the sense of like just the werewolf character. I don't know. He's just like, to me, like what you see in werewolf movies is Paul Naschy, and nobody, like if you're outside the horror genre, if you're not like a diehard fan, nobody knows who he is, and that's wrong because he did so much for the genre, and he deserves so much more credit. And I don't think this is as good as like the earlier ones. I'd go 5.5 out of 10. It's cool. It has a real high body count, like 36, I think, in it, and he just knocks it. Like he knows how to do werewolf stuff. Like he's this big barrel chested guy, and he knows how to act. He's a good actor. He knows how to do all the fight scenes and everything, and he just brings a lot to like what a werewolf is. And like I said, he needs to be in that same breath. Like he needs, when it's werewolf, it's him and Lon Chaney Jr. and that's it. Like that's all that could be. That's the two main people, and everybody else comes up second. After that, I did 2 movies that I needed for. They have a new check mark on the checklist this year to have 2 films by the same name, but like totally different films. So I picked The Dead Don't Die from, I believe it's 75, which was a TV movie, which also gave me another check, which was Ray Milland was in it. And this crazy movie about a guy whose brother passes or was killed in the electric chair. He was a murderer and everything, and then he sees him back alive somehow, and then gets into this whole thing, and it has to do with voodoo. And this you get this woman, she I guess lived in France, because she talks about being executed. She says, well, in my country they use the guillotine, and she has the slash mark across, and obviously she was brought back to life and everything. And it's pretty cool, but you could tell it's a made for TV movie. Even though back in the 70s, 80s, and 70s and 80s, made for TV movies were done so much better. Like they looked so good compared to like, they're on par with a lot of films out at the time, and it's not a bad movie. I'd go 5 out of 10. I'm glad I watched it for the check marks and everything. I don't think I'll ever revisit it. Then the last movie I watched for the night was the 2019 The Dead Don't Die, starring Bill Murray, Adam Driver, just a bunch of people. Good ensemble cast, and it's comedy whole thing is, I think a lot of the comedy misses. Like, there's points where it's funny, but there's points where the comedy is just so dry and so slow, and the pacing of the movie is glacier slow. You know, it don't pick up until like the last 25 minutes, and I don't know if that's intentional, just to help the comedy move along, but it gets a little, you know, too much at times. You know, it's just, I don't know. I think it missed on a lot of parts, that it could have been a lot better. It does good in the gore is pretty decent, even though it's CGI and everything. You have a decent body count, it's around 10 or so, not counting zombies. Like I said, the cast is really good, real good actors. Adam Driver, to me, is just, you know, one of the best actors going. So him being in it's just awesome. I'll go 5.5 out of 10. I was gonna go 6, but it's a little down. That whole, like, the comedy just missed and just killed it for me. So that's night one. 7 films in for night one, and then 3 from the pre-night. So 10 in. I'm on pace. If I do 7 and 9, I'm gonna go over 200. We'll see though if I can keep that going. So come back tomorrow. We'll get hopefully 7 in. So until then, catch you on the flip side.